Checker. Good. 10 o'clock. All right. Okay, welcome everyone. I call the July 7th Board of Commissioners meeting to order on this nice, warm, sunny day in July. We are joined once again by Veteran Dodd Bradley to lead us in the pledge, and we also have with us today Reverend Roberta Johnson from Memorial Hospital. She's a retired chaplain there to lead us in the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding, but in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path." Let us pray. Father God, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, I pray your blessings over this meeting, that it will be productive and informative. Please keep these commissioners in good health, both physically, mentally, and spiritually. Help them to make an impact in this community as they continue to be humble women and men, persons of character and integrity, careful thinking with their God-given ability to reason. Let them trust you completely in every choice they make, whether big or small, as they follow God's leading, and he will continue to guide their steps. Now the Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee, and may he give you peace. Amen.
All right, we will move on to the consent agenda.
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through C, as listed below.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 5.
I make a motion to approve the submission of a grant application on behalf of the Archives Department to the Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, in the amount of $4,844.74 for the scanning of 31 Clerk of Courts quarter session dockets from 1749 through 1882.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
And I think it's interesting, if you think back, the county was actually created in 1749, which just goes back to that first year we were in public service.
How many years ago was that?
273, is it?
There you go. Your
Yep.
math is good.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 6.
I make a motion to approve the submission of a continuation application on behalf of the district attorney to the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, in the amount of $104,104 for the investigative tools and technology upgrades designed to benefit the York County Forensic Team, York County Drug Task Force, United States Marshals Task Force, and local municipal police departments, making investigative tools more broadly available to said agencies across the county for the period of October 1st, 2021 to September 30th, 2022.
Second.
I have a motion and a second, and I know Kyle's here. Did you want to make any comments on this motion?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Some of this, obviously, I don't want to go into greater detail because of, I don't want to compromise investigations, but some of that $104,104 would go to, one would be, would assist the municipal police departments. I know about a year ago, you approved for an updated large 3D forensic scanner that could be used out at crime scenes. And so part of the funding here would go to deploy a handheld 3D scanner, so that would help also at crime scenes if maybe our larger unit, if it wouldn't be feasible to get that out there. So that was part of the funding. It would also fund antenna radios and 4 software programs. These radios would be used by officers assigned to the Drug Task Force, our Quick Response Team, and the U.S. Marshals Task Force, and would provide for increased safety and active communication amongst members. And so just to highlight, I wanted to highlight a couple of those things, again, because this was continuation funding, and to show that, again, a lot of these tools are further enhancing tools that we either have or would increase officer safety while out on the streets. So unless anyone has any more specific questions.
My only question is, when you say continuation application, it's going from October through September next year. Did this start prior to that?
What we are asking for here, it's a continuation of a similar grant that we already had. So this funding would be new funding, and everything that, all the equipment and technology upgrades that we are looking for would be new, again,
Okay.
to enhance things that we already have. But the grant application was written such that we could not just go get something that did not already essentially enhance equipment or technology that we already had. So that was, it had to be tied into something that we had, if that answers your question.
Okay, yeah, continuation, okay.
Yes.
Great. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 7.
I make a motion to approve the purchase between the County of York on behalf of Information Technology Services Department and Dell Inc., Round Rock, Texas, for VMware license upgrades and renewals for 3 years starting June 30th, 2021 through June 29th, 2024, for a total cost of $35,805.12 under a PA CoStarz contract.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 8.
I make a motion to approve the Tax Refund Register 2021-04, authorizing payment of York County real estate tax refunds totaling $43,029.11.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item number 9.
I make a motion to approve the check register for the week of July 7th, 2021, totaling $5,255,789.19.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We did have an executive session between our last meeting. This was related to the ongoing opioid litigation that is occurring at the federal level. We will move on to other business. We have 2 presentations today. I think first up is our new Human Services Director, Claire Dahl, to talk about the County Human Services Block Grant. I was having a flashback.
That's okay.
Okay, so give me a minute here, and
My children still say I have the warden voice at times, so, when they're in trouble, so you're not the only person who have called me
Okay.
warden.
And I
Good morning. As Commissioner Wheeler said, my name's Claire Dahl, the new Executive Director for Human Services. And what I want to do today is just very briefly, just kind of, high level, just give you a little bit of information about our Human Services Block Grant proposal. We started this process, or using this process in 2017. And what it is, it's a grant from the state. It's funds that we typically would receive, but historically in a much more structured format. The block grant allows us more flexibility to be able to move funds around and, to target, let's say, needs change during the year. With the block grant, we have the flexibility to be able to move funds around to be able to address those needs and better serve our our county taxpayers. So again, we started in 2017. It gives us increased flexibility, and it provides partial funding to our mental health and intellectual and developmental disabilities program, our York and Adams Drug and Alcohol Commission, as well as our Human Services Division. We have a small contingency within the Human Services Department that manages some of our grants, works on the system of care, and some other projects. So it provides us funds to be able to address county needs. Now, what we've seen with the block grant historically is that this funding has remained relatively flat. As you can see, for what we're requesting for the 21-22 fiscal year is about $17.9 million. This fiscal year is $17.8. So we're only looking at about a $6,600 increase, which is a less than 1% increase in allocations. The difference, though, you know, if this was not in a block grant format, we wouldn't be able to use the funds and move them around the way that we need to. So having some flexibility does make this money go a lot further. When we look at what this means to our entire budget for the Human Services Department, we're about $284 million. Wow, if it's only 284,000. It would make Mark Durr very happy. The budget would be much easier for the county. So about $284 million, it's about 6% of our budget. One of the things that we do when we submit our proposal, we identify what the priorities are for these funds. And these priorities are not just specific to the block grant. They're kind of a big picture of what we're looking at in the Human Services Department. Of course, the opioid epidemic. We have our administrator here, Audrey Gladfelder, for the Drug and Alcohol Commission. She's made it her mission to be able to, she's at the forefront of trying to combat this epidemic. She has been for the last several years. They've done a great job in the department of making sure that Narcan is available and that the public is aware. They have some new initiatives that we'll be talking about a little bit later this year. But we're going to continue that. We're going to continue the Narcan distribution, continue to increase public awareness. There's going to be a push to expand medically assisted treatment. One of those focuses will be in the prison, and the new warden is on board with that. In fact, we're looking at an intensive outpatient type of program at the prison. Also, collaboration. Collaboration is going to be kind of the key buzzword for human services. That's not new to me, being in this position. It's what it's been for the last probably 5 to 8 years. We're looking to improve those collaborations with all the different individuals and groups that we work with. So some of the priorities, crisis services. There's going to be a revamping of that at the statewide level, hopefully to improve access. Co-responders with our police departments. You know, this is an initiative that I feel very strongly about. Sharon Harlacher, who is not here today, she's been at the forefront of helping to get this up and running. We've had a lot of great assistance from the police departments as well as our district attorney's office. I know Dave Sunday is supportive. We're looking at improving our collaborations with the criminal justice system as a whole, with our school systems. You know, to me, one of the most important areas to invest is our children. We're also going to, actually, let me rephrase here. One of the areas that we have a lot of funding outside of just the block grant is housing assistance. So we have what's called ERAP. It's an emergency rental assistance program. So you're going to see housing assistance as a focus for the Human Services Division as a whole, that we're going to continue to push and make sure that those impacted by COVID do get support. So if anyone has an interest in learning more about that, please contact me. I will send you the information on all the different avenues where people can get support with back rent. And then a general focus of just improving outcomes. So one of the most important things of the process one of the reasons I'm up here speaking is that through the block grant application process, we have 2 opportunities to present to the public. We did the first presentation last month. This is the second. And what we are looking for is input from our community. We're looking for service providers, the public, the consumers, other departments to provide us thoughts, concerns on how the money should be spent, what our priorities should be. And then what we'll do is we'll take a look at that and try to incorporate those things into our final draft. And then we'll be sending that block grant proposal to the state by the end of the month. Okay, and a copy of the grant application, the draft anyway, is on our website. I do have several copies here, hard copies if you would like. So, all right. Any questions?
I guess for the public, back in 2017, the former Board of Commissioners, actually, the state gave the authority to counties to decide whether they want to go to the block grant program or not. So I guess in kind of general terms, we get funding for all the different organizations you oversee.
Correct.
The 5 or 6 organizations you oversee.
Well, we get specifically for the block grant, it's mental health, drug and alcohol, and then a small group within the Human Services Division.
Right, right. So you get the opportunity to utilize funds in certain ways that you determine to be more effective.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely allows us more flexibility. Those funds are not locked into certain, specific or targeted areas. We can move it around in order to better address the concerns at the
Right.
moment.
Okay. And I know we're in a jointer, and I don't think Adams County is in the block grant program, but your county is.
That is correct.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions for Claire?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have our friend Barb Zortman, who is the Director of our Traffic Safety Department, to give us an update. Okay,
Thank you.
it's all yours.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Sure.
Welcome, everyone. As Commissioner Wheeler said, I am Barb Zortman. I'm the Director of the Center for Traffic Safety, and I'm going to give you a little bit of snapshot as quickly as I possibly can of the crash scene in York County. First, I do want to preface it by saying that the Center for Traffic Safety is federally funded with federal highway safety funding from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. That flows down through PennDOT and then graciously flows through the York County, and the Commissioner's Office is the administrator of the grant. So what money they put out, hopefully we return back to them and the taxpayers as best as we possibly can. I bring that up because I'm going to talk a little bit about the financial aspect of crashes. And did you turn this off, Claire?
I can do it, Barb.
Okay. Deaths from crashes cause in general in the entire state. So we kind of look at everything on the national level, the state level, and then the local level. And nationally, it's $55 billion in medical costs annually. Somebody can just show me how to turn this on.
Barb, I can, if you just tell me when you,
It would just be really fast. Did we go quicker? Sorry. Okay.
There it goes.
Sorry about that, I apologize. Okay. Going to Pennsylvania, looking at Pennsylvania numbers, we'll just drop to the bottom line, which is almost $2 billion in medical costs and work losses in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, this is during 2018, the last time the CDC released these findings. So that's the number we're going to look at in the year that we're going to look at moving forward. Motor vehicle crashes are preventable. That's why we've kind of migrated from that word accident, because that implies that it's not preventable. But we can research every single crash and find a denominator that shows it was preventable at some variable. So they came up with some effective strategies. We have NHTSA telling us, PennDOT telling us, we have the CDC telling us, so we can't fail. And these are some of the strategies they came up with and that we do implement in the state and locally. Automated red light and speed camera enforcement is making an appearance in our more metropolitan cities. Comprehensive graduated driver licensing, 2011, we kind of really revamped that and have a great system for that. And you will see our teen driver crashes have gone down substantially. Publicized sobriety checkpoints. One of the things that are part of my job is I administer the sobriety checkpoint program in York, Adams, and Lancaster counties. Here in York County, I make sure I publicize them. Decades ago, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court said that we had to alert the media and the public when we were having a checkpoint. We didn't have to tell them where or exactly when, but we had to put some kind of notice out. Several years ago, they reversed that decision, and we no longer have to tell the public that we have a checkpoint. I do. I still do. And not all the coordinators do, but I do, because I believe in the deterrence effect of just teasing the public that you're going to go out and party this weekend. Well, we're going to have a checkpoint, but we're not going to tell you where or exactly when. And hopefully that will deter their behavior. We do have a mandatory ignition interlock program. That is on the state level with the Pennsylvania DUI Association, and they've had astounding success in reducing recidivism. In addition to sobriety checkpoints, we do administer high visibility enforcement of seatbelt and child restraint laws, aggressive driving, and impaired driving. Talk a little bit about that in a moment. And we do have primary seatbelt laws for anyone under 18. Unfortunately, we still do have the secondary law for that other demographic, but we're working on it. I won't get started on that subject. Laws that require car seats and boosters for kids up to the age of 9. We do have a law that's up to the age of 8. Bicycle helmet laws we have, and the distribution of materials and community outreach programs. So we have literally done all of these things, or are doing, or continue to implement all of these programs that the CDC recommended in 2018. Circling back to that billion-dollar number, if you divide the number of crashes that we've had in Pennsylvania in 2018 into that 1.79 million, you get about 13,934.52, where you get that exactly, but that's the average cost statewide of each crash. So looking at 2018, the county had 4,795 crashes. That's $67 million in total costs. Thankfully, by 2020, we had a reduction throughout the years, but looking at the most current, 36, 37. That reduction led to a $16 million reduction in total costs. So although we aren't driven by that, that is an important factor to us in showing that that is a measurable outcome to us. So this is what the crash scene looks like. We study things in 5-year trends. We study data in 5-year trends so that we can see if what we're doing and what we have been doing is working or not. Should we change it? We are saving lives. We can't take full responsibility for this, but we like to think that we have, in our partnership with all the other networks that we have, law enforcement, insurance companies, the commissioner's office, all the offices that we work with, have a part of this. That red line you see, that's a linear trend projection line telling us where we should be. So I believe we are where we should be. We're a little bit behind, but I believe we're going to get there. This is the fatality, which we are ahead of the curve. We were ahead of the curve until this past year. 2020 was heavily affected by the pandemic traffic-wise and crash-wise. And we're expecting it to have a little bit of an effect in 2021 as we move forward. When we see a spike in crashes, we want to know, we need a reason. You know, we need to find the causal factor. So in 2017, when I looked at data, the 5-year trend of 2013 to 2017, I saw a large spike in mature driver crashes, that's 65 and over. I'll talk about that in a minute. But this has a lot to do with why we have the crashes that we do have in York County. We're the 8th most populated county out of 67 in the state. We are among the top 12 fastest growing. People are moving here, they're not leaving. They're now visiting Florida and coming back, the snowbirds, and not staying forever. We rank 3rd for all the highway miles and 4th for all local roads. So we rank in the top numbers in a lot of areas that affect our crash dynamics. But it is notable we did not rank in the top 10 for crash fatalities, so that's a plus. And like I said, I refer to the Census Bureau a lot. And this is what it looks like for the whole state. You can see southeast Pennsylvania is pretty heavily moving, growing fast. And we're right smack in the middle of the numbers as far as increases. So this is what we look at. We look at Pennsylvania Crash Information Tool, which is a public tool that everyone has access to. You can get off of that already made documents, like the Crash Facts and Statistics Report, that's available to you. But you can go into what's called a custom query, and you can put in every and any variable. You can look to see how many 16-year-olds hit deer in any given year since 2001, I think they go back to. It's really useful. It's what we use to determine what our focus areas are for this county. And of course, I use the Census Bureau. So this is what it looks like when I go in there and I can get a chart, but I generally ask for a point map so I can see where the problems are. AD is aggressive driving. It's short for aggressive driving. So if you don't think that's a problem in York County, you can see it certainly is. We can zoom in on that map, and I will in a moment. Here's our impaired driver program. So we're looking at that in the large scheme. I want to zero in on it because maybe my York County coordinator wants to do a sobriety checkpoint in Dallas County.
Barb, I'm going to stop you for a minute. Could you explain what the red, blue, and green dots represent?
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to do that. Yes. So when you see a red dot, that's a fatality. The blue dots are injuries, and the green dots are the crashes where there was property damage to the vehicle. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, so we want to do a checkpoint on Queen Street, Route 74, in the Spry, Dallastown area. I will zoom in on the map and I'll look to see, and it appears as though there's quite a bit of injuries and crashes on that roadway and its feeder roads. So that looks safe. That looks like a good bet for us to have a sobriety checkpoint. And it's not because we want to nab a lot of drunk drivers. What we want to do is prove that we have justification for being on that road. So when you see a sobriety checkpoint set up and running and the inconvenience of having to go through it, or you hear this complaint from family or friends and neighbors, please explain to them the reason the checkpoint's on that road is because it's a high incidence roadway and we're just trying to save everybody's life by getting the impaired driver off the road. But that's one of the great things about this mapping system is being able to zero in on problems and not just take a shotgun approach. As I said, the mature driver crashes spiked, so we started really looking at that very closely. All the baby boomers are still driving, and they're reaching that age of 65 and over, so that large population is still driving, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But anyway, we saw the mature driver crashes increase exponentially, and it was just crazy. So we zeroed in on this mapping system. And wherever we saw clusters, we zeroed in even further. You can go in, you can see shopping malls. There's several different base maps that you can use. This one shows more of the street names. You can also zero in, and you could also do a satellite view and be able to see where shopping centers are. Long story short, what we found was a lot of crashes are happening around the Galleria Mall, driving to and from in that congested area. And in the city, we were finding that crashes are happening in and around where senior centers are located. In Lancaster County, we found that we're happening near golf courses. So this mapping system goes a long way. So that's part of what we do, is we not only find out there's a problem, but we want a laser approach, so we find out why and what's the causal factor. So what we did for York City in particular is we went to every senior center and did a presentation, played a little bingo, and gave away some incentive items and talked to them about aging and driving. So that was in a nutshell what we did there. And as I touched on with the mature drivers, we referred back to the Census Bureau. The Census Bureau was telling us there are projections that, I think it's been a while since I read it, but I think by 2050, the population is going to almost double. So this is not a problem that's going to go away. So we've spent the last 5 years, pretty much 4 years for sure, focusing on the mature driver, not forgetting all about all those other people, as you'll see, but focusing on them because they were never a problem before. I mean, they were like way down here on the list, and now they rose to the top. So we've dedicated a lot of time to that. Another reason, I think that might here, not only the baby boomers, and we're a fast-growing county, but also there's a medication for everything now. So people are living longer, and they're living longer, and they're driving longer, maybe beyond the years that they should be driving. And because there are so many medications, and you don't need a prescription for all of them, some people are driving impaired, not purposefully. But when a bottle says, do not operate heavy machinery, it doesn't necessarily mean a forklift and a chainsaw. It means a motor vehicle as well. So people need to keep that in mind, yourselves as well. But it's definitely a problem when you're talking about a demographic that is already having vision, mobility issues, that kind of thing. So we actually have a thing called Car Fit program where we fit the person into their car. They come to an event and we approach them and we talk to them about the things in their vehicle. We make sure their mirrors are aligned properly. And then the very first car I ever inspected, I said to the lady, because one of the things we do is ask them to identify the things in their vehicle. And we asked her to turn on her headlights, and she said, I don't know where they are. And I said, well, how do you drive at night? She goes, well, I just don't drive at night. And I said, well, what do you do during rain and snow? And, well, I just don't drive during rain and snow. This lady was literally a captor, like a hostage to technology because she didn't know how to turn her headlights on. So we work with dealerships now to get them to educate people when they sell a car to them. Don't just tell them the owner manual is in the glove box, but show them where things are. So that's small things. This is what I want you to see. I want you to see where it came from. This is where the 2013 and 2017 trend data, where you see it rose up. I mean, they drove right past, no pun intended, drove right past teen drivers and impaired drivers and aggressive drivers to come to the top. Now, after everything that we did since we found that out in 2018 actually, now they have moved down to second place in all 4 counties. And I want to say all 4 counties that we covered, they rose to the top. Now they have all rose into at least second place. Impaired driver replaced them in York County. So now we're back to really focusing again. But seat belts, motorcycles, pedestrians, commercial vehicles, aggressive driving, teen driving, and distracted driving. Those are our primary focus areas in York County. But that's a measurable outcome. Data gives us the opportunity to see a measurable outcome. What we're doing is working. Let's continue to do it. We'll make improvements, we'll adapt, but let's continue with the realm that we're on. This is just a snapshot. These are all of the areas that we are required to address. So that list I read off to you about York County isn't necessarily all that we have to focus on. We also have to include unbelted, work zone, okay? So we look at all of those. And that's just a pretty picture of the slide before. If you're like me, I'm visual, I need the pretty picture. And an even prettier picture, but easier to read is a pie graph. So the aggressive driver is the navy blue, the big chunk. And then we have the commercial vehicle. Well, let's jump to what's big, 832, young driver. So young driver is still a huge concern when it's talking about crashes. And we tend to focus on crashes because crashes will prevent fatalities. Our goal is zero. Our goal is 0 fatalities. Our job is literally to put ourselves out of a job. So we work on that every day. Okay, but I want to jump. Okay, we also look to commercial vehicles. That's a large chunk now that we're looking at that we don't usually see, and the mature driver. But I want you to look at that green and that royal blue there. That's 402 and 404. That's impaired driving and distracted driving. They look very similar. When law enforcement is behind a vehicle that is swerving over the fog line or over the center line, or they're going slowly and they're not stopping, they're not using signals, generally an officer assumes impairment of some type. And sometimes it is just distracted. Unfortunately, distracted driving, the problem is much bigger than it looks because it relies on self-reporting. If an officer pulls you over and you've been texting or you've been gabbing away to somebody on the phone and not paying attention, are you going to admit that? No, you're going to take your ticket and go on your way. So we rely on that self-reporting. You're certainly not going to admit you were texting. And I broke these down into 2 because I could have done one chart with 11 lines, but it wouldn't have made sense. So I broke them down in 2s just so we could see them better. Again, all we want to see is that thick line going down, and we see that. And we see the linear trend line that kind of keeps us in shape. It keeps us alert. If we're not meeting that trend line, that projection, that red line, we're not pleased with ourselves. We need to do something. Here we look really good. And again, look at distracted and impaired, how close that looks to each other. So we're never going to stop plugging away on that. And I made the one line pinkish because they would have just run together. Here, mature driver, great progress. Motorcycles, not sure what happened last year, except that maybe motorcycles made a bigger appearance during the pandemic. I don't know. We haven't really looked at that, but what we have done is work with our partners at Abate and our motorcycle shops, our dealerships, and brought that to their attention. They're much better in a position to talk to them as peers. Pedestrian safety looks actually pretty good, but we do work with the city health bureaus with Vision Zero to try and get some more pedestrian enforcement going on. We currently do have pedestrian enforcement going on in York City and throughout the county on any roadway within certain jurisdictions. But we look pretty good according to the trend lines. Young driver, this is something we thought we'd never see, such a reduction, such a downward slope, and we want to continue it that way. And we're not alone. We have all of these other entities out there that are drilling it home to teen drivers and their parents, the people that are in charge of their real education. Briefly, our year in review, and this is very brief. This is just touching on, I would need another hour to talk about everything that we've done over the year. Not tooting our own horn. This is something that we do because we love our jobs. We're not doing it to meet although we have to meet some goals. We love our job, we love what we're doing, and we're proud of the work because saving lives is something to be proud of, and we're happy to share it with you. High visibility enforcement, those are the things that I administer in York County. We do a lot of annual trainings, and to measure our outcomes with anything that we do in person is we do a pre and a post, real quick quiz. And one of the most important question on that evaluation tool is, tell us at least one thing that you've learned today that you didn't know when you walked in the door. That's our measurable outcome, and we have never to this day gotten a blank answer to that. We always get something, and that's important to us. And you can see all the things that we do 2 law enforcement trainings each year and an annual DUI awareness conference. Now that is actually a very large regional. Everything we do is regional. We invite everybody from York County and surrounding counties. But the DUI awareness actually focuses on treatment, prevention, intervention, and law enforcement. So you get the whole big picture with that. It forces, like law enforcement, to understand treatment, and treatment to understand law enforcement and the obstacles and the things that they face every day. I do want to touch on the No Excuses Youth Traffic Safety Billboard Design Contest. That is a peer-to-peer amplification program. Marketing professionals have always known that if you want to reach your target audience, you find somebody in your target audience and you sell them on your product. You make them an advocate of your product and let them sell it to the target audience, to their peers. That's what this does. This is teen driver safety being sold to teens by teens. So we invite all the schools to submit designs, and they have their young artists submit designs, and then we have two panels that judge. Adult professionals from like my arena, from the media, from marketing arenas, and so on, but we're the adults. And then the second panel are teen drivers. And these are teen drivers from other schools. So if, for example, if Hempfield, the Lancaster County schools, when they submit designs, Central York High School students judge those. And so that we don't have any, oh, well, I know that school and they're a rival, so we kind of go out of county. But we're still looking at peers. And that is a very valuable piece of this, because back in, I'm not going to remember the year, but just about 5 or 6 years ago, we were, as adults, sitting around the table looking at a design that had a white ghost on it. And you're like, what's with the ghost? So I researched through what the comments were from the teens. It was Snapchat. We hadn't heard of Snapchat. We didn't know anything about Snapchat. And when I did the research, I found out it has far surpassed Facebook at that time, at that year. And it was eye-opening. Had we not had the teens telling us about this design and whether or not they liked it and what it meant to them, and that one did win that year, by the way. So it's very important to have that teens involvement, focus groups, that kind of thing. High School Seatbelt Challenge that we do every year, and we're working with Operation Safe Driver, which is a commercial vehicle, share the road type of program. We get out on the rail trail and meet with bicyclists and pedestrians and hand out bottles of water, and my staff sparks up conversation with them. Vision Zero, I mentioned. Impact Teen Driver. I won't read down this list, but I do want to touch on the JTL Driver Education Scholarship Program. We are very privileged to have created this program and have the funding to do it. It is in memory of Jacob Lynn, one of my staffers. Her son was killed in an aggressive driving-related crash, speed-related, and they have fundraisers all year long. So we came up with this idea of what can we do to help subsidize these schools and these students as driver education is not being renewed. As driver ed teachers retire, schools are looking at that as a perfect opportunity to save money. And as they should, because it is expensive. It's about $400 to educate one kid on driver education, classroom and behind the wheel. And the Department of Ed only reimburses them $35. That's like from 1928 or some ridiculous year. So we have never been able to change that. So what this program does is the school identifies students who are a financial hardship. They can apply, and if they win, if they pass the application process, they get $250 towards what can be anywhere from $250 to $500 to go to get driver education, private training. So that's just something that is phenomenal. It's just great to be able to give that to kids, or we're going to see those numbers start to climb again. Almost finished here. Bear with me. I'm sorry. That's the billboard that won in 2020. It was designed by Southwestern students, and I believe the commissioners, at least Commissioner Wheeler was there. Were other guys there? Great. It's two of the main criteria that I'm very staunch on is it has to be an original design. They can't go to Google Images and download something. And it has to be an original slogan. They can't go and use, text, or stop wrecks, you know. Hang up on distractions, that's their own slogan, and that is one of the artist's fingers on their phone. So that was pretty awesome. There's a picture of them on the Heritage Trail, or at least what our table looks like along the Heritage Trail. Some high visibility enforcement. York City is still participating in a pedestrian enforcement, very, very well covered by the media, which really helps get the word out. And the aggressive driving enforcement. This picture was taken by my law enforcement liaison from PennDOT. He'll go out when he knows there's a detail going on, and he'll snap some photos. He'll send them to me, and I'll turn them into a social media meme. And I'll throw on some kind of quip, like this one says, speeding will get you nowhere real fast. That's Pelham Township on Route 30. So everybody kind of recognizes that. Our media is very important to us, so we do a lot of social media, of course. And our contacts were over 51,000 last year. We have a Facebook page and Instagram. Please follow us, the Center for Traffic Safety. What's even better is that we have 3.4 million in contacts from conventional media. Conventional media is invited to everything that we do. Even if we're doing a Facebook Live event, we still invite the conventional media, and I can tell you that we always have media at our events, so we're very pleased. We have a long-standing relationship with them that was developed long before I became director. So in conclusion, those are the lists of things that we are required to cover, including planning and administration. We have to account for every minute of every day, and we are allocated according to how serious the problem is, how much time and effort and funds we can use towards that effort. So that's all captured under planning and administration. And the contacts made. Those are the 4 counties. Those are the 4 groups of contacts that were made. Total of over 4 million contacts. Here in York County, just under 1.4 million contacts in 2020. So during a year when we were all kind of closed up, and what we did during the pandemic was we went virtual with everything. And that actually worked out really well. It taught us a lot about technology and moving with the flow. Any questions? That's all I have. Sorry if
I
talk fast.
have
I'll
3
try to
quick
squeeze in.
questions. Number one, how often does the CDC release their findings?
I don't know, because that was the last funding I could find, or the finding that I could find, so I'm not sure how often they release it.
The other question is, do you share this data with the municipalities and the local law enforcement agencies?
Do we share the information with all of them? Yes.
Okay. And then my last question is, because we support Lancaster, Lebanon, and Adams, do you also do this presentation for their county commissioners?
Yes, my staff provided them with the annual report that was provided earlier this year. I was waiting to do this so I could do it in person. That's what we're all waiting for, is so that they can do it in person. But they were all given the annual report and given the opportunity to schedule a time for us to come in. Yeah.
Nope, good.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll open it up for public comment. If I could have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned, and we will move on to salary board. Okay.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes from the June 30th, 2021 Salary Board meeting as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2.
I'll make a motion to approve the positions, salaries, hours of work, and fringe benefits as provided by existing collective bargaining agreements or as set forth in the York County Employee Handbook or York County Policy Manual for the following departments and row offices as listed below, with no additional benefits or concessions unless otherwise noted.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. If I could have a motion to adjourn,
I'll
please.
make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. And we do have an election board meeting today, so we will move quickly to that.
Good morning. Steve Ulrich, Director of Elections.
Wait, could you hold a minute, please? I'm just making sure I'm pulling up the correct agenda, and I've not found the correct agenda yet, so just bear with me. I don't see it, Lisa. That's where I did it. It's not this. So, unfortunately, I don't have an agenda to put up here, but in order to be expeditious, we'll certainly make a copy of this agenda available for folks. So I'll call the Board of Elections meeting to order for July 7th.
Good morning. Steve Ulrich, Director of Elections. Pursuant to the order of the Court of May 28, 2021, docketed at 2021 MT 96, an official recount for the Democratic nomination for Magisterial District Judge in York County District Court 19-101 was conducted on Friday, June 11, 2021 at 10 a.m. in Room B-003 of the York County Administrative Center located at 28 East Market Street in York. The recount determined that the original count, the original winner in that race, Tom Hartice, was confirmed. And we are putting that forward for certification.
So just so we're clear, that's the certification for the Democratic nomination.
Correct. That is for the Democratic nomination for MDGA 19-101.
And for those watching, if you'd like available, we do have a copy of the actual certification results to validate that recount.
So I will make a motion to accept certification of the recount of the votes returned as cast for magisterial district justice in 19-1-01 at the primary election held on the 18th day of May in 2021.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And we have another motion on the agenda.
Also wanted to bring to the board's attention that there is a modification to the certification for the Southeastern School District related to the candidates to have a 4-year candidate and a 2-year vacancy candidate, which will be certified, and they will appear as both the Democratic and the Republican nominee for that position in the Southeastern School District.
And that individual is Nick Johnston, who will be on the Republican ballot and the Democrat ballot for the 2-year term in the Southeastern School District 1. Correct?
Region 1, correct.
I will make a motion to accept the recertification of a 2-year unexpired term in the Southeastern School District Board of Directors.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We will have those updated on our website. I'll open it up for public comment. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I
Second.
have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and enjoy this nice, warm, sunny day of July.